All right, we're live. Welcome, welcome.
Yes.
Good morning, afternoon,
Thank you.
evening, wherever you are.
Yes.
I'm here with Ben Issenmann. I'm so excited to chat today because while I haven't known Ben very long, I found his Twitter pack, or Ben, actually, you reached out to me on through email
Yeah.
first, and when I saw your Twitter pack, I was like, "What is this beauty? This is incredible!" So I felt like we needed to talk about it. I wanted to hear a little bit more about this journey. Oh, hang on. I think I have a window open. I'm hearing like an echo of the video. Can you hear that?
Ah, no, I can't.
One second
Somewhere.
here. Bear with me, folks.
No, everything's been on my phone.
There we go. Sorry, I needed to
Okay.
close a mysterious YouTube window, so bear with me
Okay.
here. Okay, cool. So I needed to chat with you about this template pack because I was so impressed at the effort that you put in and just how amazing it looked. And even again, like to see what the transition you were making as a freelancer selling products. And I know we've been talking a little bit about the Notion economy and the
Right.
Notion marketplace that's been emerging. So I'm just really excited that you're here and I'm excited to kind of chat about this hyper freelancer. So why don't I
Yeah.
pass it over to you? And I'd love to kind of hear from you the beginnings. Like, tell me a bit about this hyper freelancer concept and the article
Sure.
that you wrote.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah.
Um, I wrote this article, I think, yeah, 2 or 3 months ago, called the Hyper Freelancer, and it was based on this sort of model that I was seeing, where freelancers, when they had a unique specialty on something, they worked with clients on as a consultant, or and usually, I mean, you can spot recurring pains working with clients,
Hmm.
and that's something that you can leverage to do something else. And what I propose in this hyper freelance model is, once you spot these recurring pains, you can actually, after, create courses, create educational content. So whether that's with a blog, or with videos, or with a course like an online course like you teach or I teach, you can just share that knowledge or the solutions to the pains that you've been seeing. And so this is a way to diversify your revenues. And then, like, after you do that, you sort of maybe build a community. You you have people who follow you more than if you were working with clients directly, and you can actually afterwards sell a product. So once you have this community, these problems that you've been explaining in your courses, you can create products. And so this idea sort of it began as a Twitter thread, and then I wrote an article, and it got a lot of reactions, and I was very blessed. Like, oh, something that's an idea that works out there. And so I just a month ago, I realized, well, I should try the model myself. I should try to see if I can do design work with clients, and then probably do a course. What I did was web design for clients. Then I taught this Webflow course, and so, like, I realized, well, the missing block for me is a product, and I uh, I said, well, I'm just going to experiment in September, and I'm just going to sell something that I've already made. And it turns out that I had all these templates on Notion that I used to collaborate with my clients. And I thought, well, maybe I can sell that. So that's a bit of the journey behind, or the context to creating the Notion pack.
So you'd already
Yeah.
been using those templates kind of in your own client projects for a
Yeah,
while, and then you were like,
exactly.
clearly this is
Yeah,
working. It's allowing you to
exactly.
spin things up. Yeah. And the web
Yeah.
design obviously explains why your work is so beautiful. Like your landing page for your product is so beautiful. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously. That's amazing. And so you took your own advice with the hyper freelancer thing. So you've got a Webflow course. Now this is your first attempt at sort of more like hands-off product, right? So it's something you can sell
Right.
and kind of
Exactly.
let it do its
Passive
thing.
income. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I spent actually I have maybe that this is the right time to sort of show process of doing the, or should I give just a demo of the Notion pack before?
Oh, it's
What's more?
totally up to you. And actually, I should mention to folks if anyone in the chat is here and they want to see something specific for Ben, or you've got any specific questions about anything that we're talking about, definitely put it in the chat and we'll do our best to address it, because I know we both have experience with on the client side, we both have experience with courses, and we both have some diversified income too. And I'm sure we've both learned a lot in that process too. So feel free to, post anything in the chat. It's really up to you in terms of how you want to demo the product or kind of what you created. It's totally totally up to you. So
Yeah, I'll do a short demo of just what we're talking about here. So as can you see my screen, the demo Notion pack? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I created this sort of master template on Notion 2 weeks ago, and then sold it with Gumroad for $78. And I'll just show you what this is about. This is a pack for freelancers who want to collaborate with their clients. And you'll see here, it's actually 20 different templates. So you have proposals, quotes, everything that's more based with contracts, NDAs, onboarding guides for your clients, invoices, and then project management. Yeah, it's sort of, all the document that I used as a web designer and that I knew other freelancers could use as well. And yeah, I'll just show you maybe one the service level agreement. Let's take this one. And so in this part of the template, you just press a button using the template generator, and it creates this new Notion page. It's color coded, so all the yellow parts are things that you have to change for every client, and everything that's red means that you have to change it beforehand when you sort of set up the pack for your own clients. So it's pretty easy to set up. When you use the template generator, you either share a page with your client, just like a single page, or you can export it to PDF. But what makes more sense is if you would collaborate with your client directly in Notion, and so not have to share 10 different pages, but have one page that captures everything. So this is the goal of the freelance workspace. This is the second part of the Notion pack.
And I have a question for you that I get asked a lot
yes.
too. What was the process like to bring in clients into your workspace? Because some people say like, oh, it's hard to kind of get my clients to want to adopt Notion. Like, have you had that trouble when you're trying to collaborate with your clients inside of your workspace?
Actually, I don't say it's Notion. I just share a page. People who don't know Notion think it's a website that's just for them. They see, and those who know Notion are pretty happy to just be on Notion because they like Notion. So I haven't been in a situation where I really had to sell Notion at all. I just shared the link. It had everything they wanted, and so they sort of, maybe they made their own accounts and then could add comments. Maybe they didn't. They just viewed the documents and were happy like that. So,
that's cool.
But that's a fair question. And so on the second part of the Notion pack, this button creates a new client. And what it generates is, it takes a bit longer to create. It creates all the documents that I showed you before in the right order. And so this way you can just, let's say you're my client. I just have one page where I can share with you that has everything. And what I like to do is embed a Loom video, for example, where I say, hey, Mary, this is your new space for us to collaborate together. And I yeah, plug in these videos, these Loom videos to make them feel more alive, human,
Personable,
and
yeah.
clients like this. And another thing that I do to, sort of convert
The uninitiated.
potential clients to work with me is have a Calendly link
Mm.
embedded inside the page, so they can just book a time with me. Because usually after a proposal, they'll have follow-up questions about what they need to do, or yeah, and so they can just book a time here. And so that's another block that's not often used in Notion templates, and that's interesting to have.
Love it.
So yeah, that's the Notion pack. Yeah, what could do you have any questions about it?
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you have any questions. I mean, I had a chance to check it out and I just thought it was so thoughtful and, like again, you're assuming someone maybe doesn't know Notion. And so even all the language and the welcoming, like it's just very approachable. Sounds like you've got a little bit of user experience background too, obviously. Like the quality of your templates is just very, very lovely. It just
Thank
makes me
you.
want to step up my step up my design and my templates.
I'm seeing in the comments that there are some troubles with my audio. Uh, can you confirm that,
I mean,
Ryan? Maybe I'll try another setup if.
it's like a little choppy, but it seems more like an internet connection thing than an audio thing.
Oh,
Can
okay.
people hear us okay?
Yeah,
Let
I'll
us know.
check.
Someone said
Yeah.
the audio video lags a
Okay.
little
Well.
bit. It's okay.
Okay. Sorry for that. And so maybe I can then continue with sort of the big steps towards making this.
Yeah.
It started with a conversation with different friends who were using Notion, and I realized, well, I did it too, and I realized, well, we're not alone, and there's something to do. So I wrote an article explaining the steps and just explaining how my friends, designer friends, and freelancer friends were using Notion to collaborate with their clients. About 1,000 people read the article, and I got some comments saying, "Oh, this is interesting. I would be interested in learning more." So I was like, "Oh, what can I do to help these people potentially?" And so I just shared one template that I had made. So yeah, beginning of the month, I shared the template of an invoice on the Facebook group called Notion Made Simple. And it got a lot of, people were like, "Oh, thank you for sharing this." And I was like, okay, and there's definitely something I can do with this. And so I had all these ideas about what I could put inside this pack. There were so many things. And so I was trying to lay it down on Notion, but I had a hard time. And so this is where something that's a very good tool, which you may know, Mai. It's called Whimsical.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I did a big mind map like that where I said, okay, well, I can include these documents here. And it really helped me figure out what I wanted to include in the pack. Then I just set up a Gumroad. It took me 5 minutes. It was
It's so
a very
easy to
good
use,
experience.
right? So
Yeah, I know.
amazing.
I just tweeted a link, and yeah, got some likes. I was like, oh, okay. And then I started actually saying, okay, well, I got a 12 pre-sales with Notion. So no, with Gumroad, sorry. Gumroad allows creators to pre-sell their content, and this is a great way to validate whether there is something or not. And
Yeah.
if you don't have anything, you can just cancel the launch, and people get. I don't think they get even refunded because they don't pay
Payment doesn't go
as
through
long as
till.
the. So it's a great way to just validate an hypothesis about a product. So that's what I did, and I with a simple, I think, effective marketing claim, which was by pre-buy it now for half the price, so for 38. And so I got 12 people who pre-bought the course this way. And so then
Is that the most exciting money? You're like, this is...
Wow, there's nothing, right? It's just a plan, a vague plan, like what I could build, and then people actually pay. Like, this
It's
is
the best
this is great. So
feeling.
then I felt a lot of pressure to actually build the pack, right? And so I really locked myself in quarantine in in COVID style. I just locked myself in a room for a week to build the pack. It was harder than I thought at the beginning because
Really?
I had all these ideas, very confusing about the direction that this was taking. And so what I did, and you can see here, I scheduled a lot of calls with freelancers who had bought the course beforehand. And I was just showing them some parts of the pack and getting feedback without having anything really built. And these calls, like, they made a huge difference because they just gave me validation when I needed. Some people just said, "Oh, I would never use this template," and that was very useful to just schedule a lot of feedback calls and demo without having the product. I don't know if maybe you do something similar, Mary.
Yes, I have a course also on that too. That Run Your Learning Launch is a course that I ran years ago that is focused on helping people ship a minimum viable course. And one of the homework in the beginning is conversations, calls, just hopping on, even casual conversations with people just to kind of research and it sounds like you're very geared toward that too, that hypothesis mindset of I kind of think this is where I want to go, but I want to hear back from someone else in their own words as well, which is going to help you describe it better on your sales page and how you talk about it. So I'm huge on just having those like no pressure, really honest conversations with people who are your target audience. So I think that's amazing that you did that.
Awesome. And I'm curious, is this course still running or did you retire it?
It's if people can find it, they can still buy it. I haven't been heavily promoting it as of late, but yeah, it is still out there for sure.
Okay.
That's funny.
I really want to take this course.
I want to move it onto Notion now.
Right. We'll talk, I'm sure, about this in a second. And then I set a launch date being the 15th of September, so 10 days ago. And I didn't do anything when it launched, right? The people who bought it, they received it, and I just wanted feedback of the final product before I did anything. Because I felt anxious that I sort of felt like a scam.
Oh yeah, because it's not ready yet, right? You're like, oh.
Right, and I hadn't really shared it with anyone, and I just wanted some sort of validation when it was finished before promoting it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so then I got some messages saying, "Hey, this helped me a lot with this," and I'm like, "Oh, relieved."
It's going to be okay. I'm not a scammer.
It's going to be okay. And so then I said, okay, well, now I built the thing. I've got to talk about it. I've got to share it. And I have a lot of fun doing this. So Gumroad, one of the other great things about Gumroad is that they have affiliate links. And in just one forum, you can add someone as an affiliate. So at the beginning, I just added 2 or 3 friends as affiliates, and then I was like, probably not the best thing to do. So then I actually reached out to you, and I was like, hey, Mary, I built this thing. Maybe we could partner up together, or you could, and you did. You answered. It was like, well, awesome, and then, it's very easy to set up, and I think when the product is good, And when you make it easy for the potential affiliate to share your product, like by sharing assets like images to easily share, by explaining the tone that they should use, or even just pre-writing everything that they can share on their social networks or newsletters, well, it makes their lives much easier. And hopefully you have affiliation deals with people who are have big or large audiences, and they have ton of stuff to do. So making their lives easier. That was my thinking behind. So that I actually created a short Notion page, trying to outline everything that I shared with you. So I mean, I know looking at the numbers. With affiliation links, I think about 10 or 15 packs were sold this way, which is, decent. And
it's still pretty new. I mean, you haven't really been talking about it that long, so it's still pretty new. I feel like the more people find out about it, it's gonna keep increasing.
Hopefully. And then, I translated the pack. I found this tool called DeepL. You may have heard of it. They have this Windows and Mac app, which feels like a superpower with just by pressing Command C 2 times, it automatically translates your your words in. And I speak very well French and English, and still the translations were impressive. I had to tweak it, but I gained a lot of time translating the pack using this tool, so I recommend it here.
That's great.
Yep. And then I launched on Product Hunt, and that was an exciting thing to do. Have you launched something on?
I haven't. Before? Tell me, share your experience. I'd love to hear.
So for those of you who don't know Product Hunt, it's a forum where people share their products and their startups, and it's a great launchpad for your new thing, because it's just a community of early adopters who are here to just try out new things, and this is exactly the type of people you want at the beginning. And when I shared I tweeted about it, the Notion pack, very early on. This guy called Tem, which whom you know, he just reached out to me and it said, "Hey, you should be on Product Hunt, and I will gladly hunt you, and I will hunt you or hunt your product instead." And he made it very easy, and so he posted my product on Product Hunt, and you can actually schedule a launch day on Product Hunt. So we had thought together with Tim that Wednesday would be a good day. Mondays are usually very competitive. Tuesday pretty competitive, and as you go about your week, it gets less and less competitive. But products on Mondays get most views. So you're taking a bet, and we felt like Notion Pack could be the product of the day if it happened to launch on Wednesday. And so it did, and it got a lot of votes, and so that brought about 5,000 people onto the pack, which was a lot of traffic. I don't think I've ever had that much traffic on my website, and it really, when you launch on Product Hunt, for a lot of startups, it's the big day, right? It's the official I exist, look at me day, right? And so I spent a lot of time making something that Product Hunt would like in terms of design. So I sketched and built everything in a day. It was sort of a personal challenge. And I built a pack, like a 3D pack like that with Photoshop templates. I put your face in there. Hey, Mary.
I could give you a more impressive testimonial.
Right. right now, but
These are amazing.
I use some parts of the article that I'd written before on there. I put also a way for people to sort of try a small version of it with the invoice template that I had made also, so that was very easy to set up. And then I just wanted to make sure that, to show that to people that this wasn't a scam. So with my face and saying hi, with a short Loom demo, and then integrating Gumroad inside the website. And I use Webflow to design everything. And then I just use the questions that my friends who pre-bought the course just asked me, and I just answered there. So it wasn't that long to set up, but I still think that it played a big role in getting a lot of votes. I think it's Gumroad. When you create a product on Gumroad, they create a sort of landing page for you, but I felt like it wouldn't get as much excitement if I just used the Gumroad landing page. But to be honest, I've seen a lot of very successful Gumroad products just use the Gumroad landing pages. So
I think that's a great point. Like if someone's just getting started, you can absolutely.
I think
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what you do as well, right? You just use the landing pages created by Gumroad.
Yep. Yeah. John was asking, is there going to be a discount for this live session?
Yes. Let's do this.
You can make a coupon code.
I'll talk about discounts in a second. Yes. And translating the pack. Yeah, I just translated back, and so some of the results, and I think that's interesting for people who want to do the same. And this is not. I don't want to brag. This is just like I mean, I'm very happy that I generated this amount of money, and I'm very fortunate. But I also want to show to other people, I think, like you, that this is in fact possible.
Yeah. And I mean, you did the work. You showed up, you did the work, you were writing the articles, you were showing up on Twitter, you did the product hunt. Like it's not just luck. It is that, I think, courage of putting yourself out there and being a bit strategic about how you're putting yourself out there. So a bit of, timing and just putting yourself out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I would just look at the graph, I mean, the big spike here is product hunt. And then the first one here was writing the article and saying I'm going to potentially build a template pack soon. And then that's interesting as well. What worked in terms of conversion rates? So I know that a lot of sales were made through emails. Part of these sales were through your newsletter, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, and what could be interesting here to talk about in these?
What's interesting is the small product hunt numbers. That's actually pretty.
In fact, I think this is a bug because when you click on product hunt, you get to the supercreative.design page. And so I don't know how
accurate that is. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like tracking the last site before the click, right? So it wouldn't
I don't know really how it works. And I also shared a bit of this journey on indiehackers.com. I don't know if you're very familiar with this website.
Yep.
But it's a sort of forum where people are very transparent about what they do, how they're intending to how they intend to make a living.
Yeah.
And they share a lot of the things that worked and didn't. Mm-hmm. And so I just wrote a blog post, a post on there explaining my journey doing this. And I think this community rewards you for being transparent and saying what works and what doesn't. And so, yeah, I would encourage people who build products to go on this website as well. And yeah, other things, it got a lot of
Wow.
traffic on the website. And if like, that's one of the um, recurring advices that people who sell stuff online or who build courses give, is to have a newsletter and to have emails, and sort of that's a great way to talk to people and create great relationships. And so with the free Notion invoice template, generated a lot of subscribers, and that was yeah, I think that's a very good thing.
And something I want to touch upon above is like, because you've got the massive increase in traffic, not just, yeah, it's like when you look at the long-term impacts of that traffic build over time, and then you think about as you keep stacking new products or as you keep writing articles that resonate with people, that traffic over time just really starts to amplify. So it can take a while to kind of get the results that you want, but if you are consistently shipping and putting out the work, giving tons of value, like you said, those free templates, over time, you're going to stack those wins and really see progress.
Absolutely, I'm very excited for that. It's very, yeah, it's these specs are very like this means that I have to work a lot for just one thing, but I want to, yeah, I think deliver a lot of free value and put myself out there and just help people constantly. And I think this will avoid sort of just lunch race
Yes.
that can be not annoying, but hard to
Sustain. It's not super sustainable, right?
sustain.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sustain. Yeah. Actually, I think it's better now if I just stop my screen. Maybe that's what causes some lags, if there are any. Is that okay if I stop?
It's up. Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, I can switch it to just the two of us speaking for a bit. Yeah, let us know how the sound is, you guys, if it's all right. Um,
I think from the comment it seems a bit better. Yeah.
okay, cool.
Um, yeah. So
So
sorry.
it's so cool to, yeah, like John was saying, it's so nice to get like a really honest behind the scenes of like what that journey looked like. And it seemed like you moved very fast. Like I know many people who kind of have that product idea and it takes a long time to kind of get it to the point where you're shipping. And I'm curious how much of it was just like courage, just like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. Like, how did you finally get that? I don't know. I guess courage to just, you knew that it just had to
Uh,
happen.
that's really the I think that's the subject that I'm most passionate about, is like how to create every day,
Yeah.
constantly,
Even if you're
not creating
scared.
there, even if you're scared. And um, and that's really the topic that I want to explore with Super Creative, which is the website I'm selling the Notion pack with. How to be prolific again and again.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I don't know. Actually, I don't have a good answer. Um,
But so you were
I
scared
know,
too. You were scared, but it's a
right? Of
commitment of yours
course,
to be
of
like, yes, I'm
course,
gonna.
of course. And I'm sure you, with 10 times more experience than me, you're still scared. I'm sure
Oh
we're all
yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
Like it's a bestial. It's like yeah, it's built in us, and we have to be okay with the fear and with the huge anxiety that comes after the launch,
Yeah.
when no one shows up, when no one buys, when no one comes. That's that feels terrible, and yeah, it's hard. Actually, one guy that I really look up to is Jack Conte. Maybe you know, he's the founder of Patreon. He's a
Oh.
guitarist. He's a great guy, and he puts a lot of content on his YouTube channel called Jack Conte Extra. And I encourage everyone here to watch what he does if you're interested in building products. He gives, I think, two advices which I find awesome. One is to smooth out the curve. When you see the trajectory, like like the launch, the traffic on your website, the number of subscribers, they go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down. And when we're in the heat of the moment and we launch something, we only see the small spike, right? We only see the downfall that's right here.
Yeah.
But what he suggests is to think long term and smooth out the curves. Imagine like it's going to take years of just shipping stuff again and again to remember that you have to continue doing this. The key is consistency. It's not
showing up.
It's showing up. The second thing that he says that I find amazing is to feed the funnel. So if you're into startups maybe or marketing, you may have heard this idea of a funnel. Like you have your marketing, so you have people coming on your website, and as you go down the funnel, maybe it leads to a sale. And as a creator, your job is to put stuff in the funnel all the time. And the key thing is, it's your audience that chooses what goes to the next step. It's not you.
Yeah.
It's not you. You may have this intuition that this next article, this next video, this next Notion template that you're gonna share will succeed, but you actually don't have a clue. And it's the people who are on the internet and who follow you who will decide what's worth sharing and so if you are as deterministic or as
motivated or
simple, then your only job is just to create and to
listen, right? Like, I notice the trends, notice what people are sharing, and respond, right? Yeah, it takes a while. Yeah, congrats on your launch. Yeah, it's been. I said this before. Like the market rewards creativity, the market rewards courage. Sometimes I think 80% of it is just having the courage to launch something, right? Just like write that article on Indie Hackers, like put yourself out there constantly and just seeing what really clicks with people. And that's hard to plan, right? And that's why that volume is kind of important, where you're shipping things fairly regularly, fairly consistently until something kind of takes off. I think I had a super weird Medium article go viral like 2015. Right. And again, like I have a design background, but at the time it was just about weekly. It's like creating more space in your weekly planning. And I would say even my weekly planning YouTube video is the one that has the most views of any other, like 100,000 views. And it was so wild. It suddenly, people were asking me to do interviews, and suddenly my whole network opened up. So sometimes it can just take finding traction on that one idea and your specific lens on that one idea that just kind of starts that curve really moving, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Let us know if anyone has any other specific questions. But I know Ben, you mentioned like you're so passionate about online courses too, and that's definitely a thing I'm really, really passionate about too, and I think can really, again, offer people that really interesting, diversified revenue. And I think Mariah Cause is someone that I have followed for many, many years in terms of her philosophies around online courses. And one thing she says is experts don't make courses, courses make experts, which I thought was really interesting. So it's this idea that regardless of your expertise, if you have a course, you are perceived as an expert. Like it does elevate your expertise, right? So obviously the hope is that you are building something that is, you are an expert at. You're not just trying to build something just to make money. But even just having a course under your belt, I think helps position you as an expert in a thing. So
I agree. It's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
A bit too. Yeah. There's so much to talk about with courses. One of the, and we were talking about this just before. It's crazy, and especially with the lockdown across the world.
Yeah,
a lot of people turning to online education, and a lot of people being pissed off at the alternatives existing. Just consuming text or videos, but not feeling connected to the teacher or really. And that also explains, I think, why people don't really finish the course they sign up to. And yeah, and one of the things that I guess influences a lot of people towards signing up to the courses and then finishing these courses is just really liking the teacher. And that's one of the thing that I realized recently is you don't like when you were in high school or middle school, you don't we fell in love with one teacher or two
Your
teachers.
favorite teacher, yeah.
Your favorite teacher, but you didn't fall in love with their like the content of they embodied maybe what they
Yeah,
were
the whole
teaching.
experience of that teacher with the content.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's we're like this. It's very human to teach, and people, I think, online put too much emphasis on the content and the stuff and the ideas, but not the fact that there are people and the best courses you've taken in your life. It's because the people behind them are amazing too, right? I really like this idea, and I want to that I explore more.
I love this topic too because I think some people get really insecure about, oh, how can I make a course about X because that other influencer already made one, or there's like 10,000 courses out there about branding. But again, as cheesy as it sounds, like there's nobody that talks about it and delivers it the way that you do. You are going to bring different experience to it, a different lens, different mentors, different worldviews. And so I just think there's always room for an interesting and different perspective. And you can hear the same thing 10 different times, but when one person says it, it lands for you. You're like, yes, there's like resonance that happens, right? So I think there's room for whoever you are, whatever you do, there's going to be people that resonate with your specific approach. So like the world needs your creations.
And I was actually I was very fortunate to be on a video conference with Sahil, the founder of Gumroad, just a week ago. And he had a different perspective. He said, well, he thought, and I think it's interesting too, that we are going to reach a point where one person in the world is going to teach math to 7 billion other people. Because and one of the example is Khan Academy, right? Sal Khan is just so good at explaining some math concept. And because the internet sort of rewards the best content, well, if you have one clear winner, then he will just sort of be a master, like he will win everything. And there won't be a lot of space to teach. Take it or leave it, but it's interesting. It's another perspective.
That is super interesting to me because I can totally see both sides of the coin on this, but I know, for example, there's lots of like popular podcasts and popular voices, and it doesn't matter, again, how popular they are or how amazing the advice is. There's something about the delivery that doesn't connect with me, or maybe their voice. Like I feel very sensitive to people's voices, so sometimes I find podcasts are a bit difficult for me to listen to. Like it has to be soothing to my ears to hear certain people talk. And so sometimes, again, certain people, I prefer their writing versus their speaking or whatever. So I still feel like there's so much room for different types of delivery and teachers and stuff. But,
I think that, his idea shouldn't be we should stop because we have one winner. I think we should still all have or be pushed to create and to put something out there. It definitely shouldn't stop us because you'll always find someone. If you're yourself, I mean, I think internet rewards people who are kind of crazy, who are questionable,
a little weird,
and sometimes at the intersection of two things, like maybe they're very funny and they're also very productive, and so they make funny Notion videos, or I don't know, but this sort of intersection. And
who's doing that? Who's doing the comedy Notion videos? New niche.
I know. So yeah, you can, and there's still so much for everyone to create.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's so
there's
much
no
room left, I
shortage.
think.
Yeah, oh, I love this stuff. Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm happy to like keep grilling Ben and talking about this stuff, but if anyone in the chat wants to know anything specific, please ask away. Yeah, Danny was saying it's the accent. Yeah, even like a certain accent that someone has could be more appealing than others, right? It's like, oh, I love the way that teacher delivers that. Um, I think because Notion's so customizable, there will be many voices to teach this platform. Exactly, and like,
Right, right.
I sometimes get people saying, "Oh, I like the way, like, I love your videos. There's something about the way that you teach or the design of your things that clicks with my brain." And then other people who are like, "Oh, I love August Bradley's system. It is like it works the way my brain works." And so even within Notion, you're going to have 100 different influencers and different approaches and ways of doing things and ways of setting up your space. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. So there's just so much room, I think, for lots of different experts. Oh,
I have
I just saw John's
I
comment out.
have a question
Yeah.
for you, Mary. What so you have sold a lot of Notion templates as well. Um, Given what's happening with Notion, with the incoming API being released, are you going to make more templates? Are you going to encourage more people to make their own?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, like even this, like this is sort of the first live stream of a Monetizing Notion series because I think there's so many interesting ways people are monetizing Notion with consulting, with making small courses, making templates. Again, I've seen people running webinars and they're just using Notion to present their webinars. Like, I think it's only the beginning. There's going to be so many interesting ways that people are using it. So I'd love to keep, showcasing other interesting use cases and share what people are making. I have no idea what's going to open up when the API is ready. I feel like there's going to be, like I was just thinking about Bearded Notioneer was doing things like batch updating the emojis, like simple things that you can't do right now, but highlight all of your entries and update the cover image in one go. Like people are going to create all sorts of fun extensions and things like that. I know like I'm not super strong with formulas. I'm not exactly a programmer. So there may be parts of that are way beyond what I can do, but I'd love to kind of showcase, people like Danny or others that are doing these really interesting things just to show what's possible. So amazing. People are excited to learn about this. Yeah. So like John just said, August system is too involved for me. I like simple and to the point. So we need people who can address all of these different ways of operating, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, most of my revenue right now is generated from my Notion course, more so than the template. So that's like that replaced my client income pretty quickly. So I had to like scale back client work to be able to do more of this. So that was an unexpected.
Feel free to share what you want or what you can, but we were talking about doing client work with doing products and education, and so you're exactly in this intersection.
Yes.
What broad percentage do you think goes to each for your revenue?
I would I'm happy to share. I'd say like at this point 90 to 95% of my revenue is Notion related, like probably 90% is the course. 90% is the course, a small percentage is Notion consulting, and then another small percentage would be some client work, and then templates is like a nice trickle of income too. But I mean, so I only launched my course in October of last year, and then by December, January, February, it was replacing my client retainer work. So I started taking on less and less client work and just doubled down on the course. I was like, I'm going to make this super comprehensive. I'm going to go all in on it. And it continued to increase. And then more and more people were like, oh, is this template available? But I baked all the templates into the course. So it was like, oh, if you want those templates, you have to kind of get the whole course, because when I initially started sharing some of my more interconnected templates, like the planning templates, all the relations were already created, right? But then I had people who were maybe more beginner with Notion, that were trying to work with the templates, and I started to get the customer support emails. Oh, like, how do I add it? Like, I was like, oh, okay. So I was trying to record YouTube videos to complement and to try and help explain. But so I really felt like it was almost doing people a disservice to just give it to people that didn't have some level of experience with Notion. I think my templates were a little bit more intermediate advanced. So it's been a process of learning, like, what's the best way to deliver it, like you said, with those videos at the top where you're making sure to explain things so that someone just kind of downloading the template can work with it. So yeah, it's been a learning journey, but the course took on a life of its own in a way that I didn't really expect. So I had to offset some clients, Yeah.
Yeah. If you like doing these courses and sort of animating them, it's awesome.
It's like, I get paid to teach people how to be awesome with Notion. Like, that was a job that didn't exist a year ago. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We have some questions here.
Sure, yeah.
Any recommendations on making templates for sale?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure, Ben, you've got your own, thoughts on this too. Like, as you were figuring out, oh, how do I make this easy for people to work with, like your template buttons and stuff. I think you did a really good job. One thing I guess to be aware of is if you have any relations, you have to make sure that all of the templates or all of the databases would live inside of a parent page. And so you want someone to duplicate the entire parent page. And I know there's some limitations, I guess, with Gumroad in terms of like your page has to be public. And I think someone did ask about this too, right? Like the page that you want people to duplicate does have to be public. And so, yeah, people can share it. It's a thing. Like, that is kind of a risk that you take. I'm curious if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, I really looked into ways to not have that. One way that I sort of started exploring was using Zapier. So anytime a Gumroad purchase was made, I would use the email to add potentially the
like
person
a guest
as a guest. But you can't do that without the Notion API. So I was blocked, and I don't. Okay, I tried buying a few other templates just to see the experience, and a lot of them on directly. And I felt like this was too easy, right? If I paid $20 to buy a template, I wanted something other also than just a Notion, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so I just included a PDF where it explains, okay, go to this link, do these things after a set of guides. And
I like that. That would have helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels more like you received something, or because if it's just a link right direction and you see that it's public,
I like that.
Experience isn't as good. Okay.
You're getting me to step up my experience. Yeah.
Great. Other recommendations, maybe start with a free template and just share something that you use every day to a friend or another, just to sort of see if it has any value. I think that's what I did, and I would do it again.
And when I was first doing the course too, I had a friend of mine screen share who had like never used Notion before, and just watched her without any instruction and just recorded it to see, like, can she figure it out, right? And there were so many questions that came up in there that you would never have been able to predict. So I do think that's great to just have a friend test it out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, when we do our templates, we're on our computers, we're not very social, and it takes a bit of effort to just take the computer, put it in your, friend's lap and just say, do it. But it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Just because else we're in our little bubble, especially I think when we create Notion stuff, like we're architects in our mind, we envision these big things, and then people, so definitely get a lot of feedback, I think. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Feedback. Again, Gumroad makes it super, super easy. I think not having to have a complex cart or anything like that. And what's nice too, again, is you can add your products to the Gumroad Discover, right? So other people can find your products. So make sure to tag them with freelance, Notion templates. There's so many I mean, there's so many Notion related templates on Gumroad now. Make them visually appealing, right? Like if you can, whether you have some design skills or use Canva or something, like just make them, I think, a little more visually appealing if you can. I love that idea of having a PDF that kind of includes the link to it in there. Those would be my tips. And just be willing to treat it like an experiment, like you said. Like just try, experiment, ship a couple things,
Danny has a great follow-up question, and I would love to hear your answer on this. What do you do when there are updates or changes that you want to make? Because, often you want to do an update. What do you send an email to all the people who bought the template and say, "Hey, I updated it. You can duplicate it again." It's a bit tricky, right?
It is tricky, and I think it would be helpful to have a change log as well. So I do a change log in my course to be like, oh, here's the modules I updated this week, and kind of keep track of it. And I bumped up against this problem too, because I was like, new and improved templates. And then someone was like, oh, I like the one piece from the other one. And I was like, oh crap, I had redone it. So now what I do is I duplicate the whole thing and rename it V2, V3. I have a database now that has all of the versions of the templates. So from that point of view, I think it would be good to document the changes, like what's different in V2. And you could kind of outline, added these properties, deleted this. And then you could, through Gumroad, even the emails that you can send through Gumroad are pretty great. You can say, email everyone who purchased this product even between this date and this date. And you can say, hey, I've got a new set of templates, which you're welcome to download, and or here's a link to the change log so you can be familiar with what the actual changes that were done. Because sometimes, in some cases, it's going to be easier for the person to edit the properties, and they've probably already taken those databases and done all sorts of stuff with them. So downloading a whole brand new set of templates they're going to be like, how do I merge these two? Right? So it gets a little bit complex. So I just kind of change up the link to the new V2, and then I would email everyone who bought V1 just to let them know they have access to V2 if they want it. Great question from Laugh Like Lila. Courses are an amazing revenue stream. Did you get any help with course building, or did you buy a course to learn about how to do this? And I'd love to kind of hear from you too, Ben. I have definitely hired help and taken lots of courses about courses in my years. The first course I ever launched was in 2014 or 2015. It was a pre-launch, kind of similar to what Ben had done with his pre-launch. Currently, Mariah Cause is someone that was a big influence for me in terms of doing evergreen courses. So she teaches a lot of how to do evergreen. How do you keep people engaged and deliver courses that are more evergreen, available anytime, while still keeping people moving through the content and engaged. So she's someone that I've learned a lot from. I hired an instructional designer, two different instructional designers for both of my courses that I've launched. I actually partnered up with an instructional designer as well for Run Your Learning launch. So again, someone who is way more steeped in the experience of getting learners through a learning journey. How do you, build in, this is something I know, Ben, you've talked about, like the 3% of people actually finish courses. And so how do you increase the likelihood that people are going to do that? So she did a whole audit of my content, and at a strategic level really helped me figure out how to restructure things to make them more digestible as well. So I'm big on hiring that kind of support of other experts too, who can make it better. There's been a couple people in courses that I've done along the way. I don't know about yourself.
I didn't have any external help. I didn't hire any instructional designers. I wish I did. So I have a course about Webflow to make websites, and I did the same sort of strategy of doing a landing page, seeing if there's interest, and then building the thing.
Yeah.
And I try. Well, that's one of the points that's worth talking about here. I built the entire course, even though it's for Webflow on Notion. And so every week I would get the feedback from people, like from the students who were in the course. And it was easier this way to add new content, change up the content, build the blocks everywhere. So that using Notion for making courses was a really good thing for me to structure the content and have a sort of home for the students to go back to if they wanted to learn about something specific about Webflow. And as I told you, Marie, just before, that was my end of studies thesis was about how to use gamification to increase attrition rates, or to push people to finish the courses that they sign up to. And my hypothesis was that it did help people to actually get to the end of the courses that they signed up to. And after my research, I found out that it actually doesn't really have any sort of impact. And so that sort of pushed me to think about, why do people like certain courses? Why do they finish these courses? Why do they talk about these courses? And one of the big component was just the fact that it was live, where you could talk to the teacher and ask him questions, and you would be motivated. Like there would be peer pressure,
mm-hmm. Some accountability,
sort of deeper, yes. And the teacher would also be a sort of cheerleader, and I love that idea. They're not just a teacher. If you teach online, you don't just know the information that the students don't. You're also there to cheer them up and
motivate them, inspire.
Motivate them, especially I think when the course is online. So I try to apply these ideas in my courses now. Yeah,
I love that. I loved your point about with any course I've ever done, I've always pre-sold it before creating the content, because like you said, it's only once you get people pilot testing your content that it's almost like you're co-creating the content with your students, right? So you kind of have a hypothesis of what you want to cover, right? Here's my outline, here's the learning journey, here's the before and after. And so often I'll tell people, write your sales page or write your landing page for the course before you even do it. It's similar to how you had your page, like here's the templates I'm going to include, but you're pre-selling it to see if that concept resonates with people. So I've always done it as a pilot first, usually heavily discounted, and just say, this is a beta. I'm looking to you for feedback. I did that with Notion Mastery too, a small group of people. I think it got 10,000 people in a week in the pre-launch. I was like, oh, okay, there is something here, right? Like this is very interesting. So those first few weeks, and I did on office hours every week, working with people, showcasing my space, getting them asking questions. And I was just transcribing everything and getting all of their questions, and that helped shape and influence the content. So I'm a big believer in that, of don't worry too much about shipping all these videos and getting it all ready. I think there's even if you had 25% of your course ready and you kind of had a loose map, but be willing to let go of what you think the course needs to include, your students are going to tell you very, very quickly. So
but I would follow up on that. I think one of the common lies that creators have is to say, okay, I need then a big landing page, a beautiful thing to explain my thing. And that's one of the things that will, I think it's a lie that we tell ourselves not to put ourselves out there.
Yes.
It takes so much work. Oh, I'll do that. But you don't have any excuse when you have something like Gumroad.
Or ConvertKit landing pages, right?
Or ConvertKit, exactly. Or you could also consider that a Medium article is a great landing page. It's a great way to see if there's any interest, if there's any people who would be interested in buying your stuff. So I don't think
it doesn't have to be complicated.
Excuses of saying
It can be just text. I think my very first when I launched Digital Strategy School, it was literally just text. And I was very active in a number of Facebook groups, and I'd already kind of been nurturing relationships with people. And so I just dropped a link, this private link, and just said, hey, that thing is ready. If you're interested, go here. And it was just a sign up form. And then I followed up from that sign up form and said, okay, it's here. And again, just text. And I'm a designer, and it was like just text, right? Just to see if the concept itself, are people willing to put their money down on this? And then you over deliver with that group of people. You're like, yes, okay. They feel like they got in on the ground floor, and it's super special for them.
Yes, I completely agree. And the fact that if you can sort of create a small community or people interest around something that's just text, then it shows that there's actually interest, right? It's a good test. It's a good test.
Natasha was asking, how do you go about with your incremented price increase for your Notion Mastery course? Or what were the deciding factor to increase the price while building any course?
That's a good question.
Oh, I mean, pricing, I feel like, is an art, right? It's so hard.
Yeah.
I think it takes a while. Partly student feedback, right? So I do have a feedback form that goes out. I think it's 60 days after after purchase. There's a funnel that checks in. How are you liking the course? Would you be willing to fill out some feedback? And in there, I actually ask people, what do you think is a fair price for this course? Right? So there's like some interesting feedback in there. And most of the people were like,
I like
that, you should charge at least $1,000 for this or whatever. There's a whole bunch of, range of feedback. And when I think I consistently had like, 9 or 10 out of 10 in, I don't have a ton of feedback forms that have come in yet, maybe a dozen or so, but most of them were like 9, 10 out of 10, over delivered on value. You should be charging at least $1,000 for this or whatever. So every 100 people that went through the course, I upped it by $100. And then another 100 upped it by $100.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so it's super freaky. I was like, this feels outrageous. I don't know. Like it twisted me up inside. But I've also been told that's a good sign. Like the price should push you a little bit out of your comfort zone as well. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say there's like science to that, but that was an experiment. Yeah, and it did not.
I'm writing it down.
It did not change the number of sales. Like it had no impact on number of sales. So now revenue is more with needing less sales. So it's it shows the market, the demand is still there, right?
I would also add another point. For me, the way I priced the Notion pack to $78, I just thought, what would be a convincing price? I knew that the average hourly rate for a freelancer who would buy the course would be around 80. I was like, okay, this will definitely, I hope from the way I present this, that it will save more than an hour.
At least one, yeah, for sure.
At least an hour.
Yeah.
So if you buy it, and it was just like, I would use the price as an argument, even though it's higher than I think the average paid template on Notion. I wanted to find something that was sticky a bit.
I love that. I love that. Like anchoring it to something that people can relate to. Yeah,
can relate to. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, Natasha, let me know if that answers your question. But I think pricing is so hard. It's so tricky, right, to get right. Yeah.
But it has a huge impact. Like I'm sure just reading 1 or 2 books or taking a course about pricing, it's a small investment, but can have a huge impact on everything.
Yeah, I think there's a really great resource. I don't know if you've read it. I think it's called Pricing Design by Dan Mall.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
It's a really good one, especially again if there's any freelancers here or people who are thinking about productized services or value-based pricing or just getting away from hourly only models. I think it's a really amazing book that really breaks it down. It's an easy read. I think it was like $9 or $10 or maybe $20. So like it's an amazing resource. I think anyone who's like charging money on the internet for anything should probably read that book.
I'll read it too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any other questions or if there's anything that you want to still chat about. I didn't know how much of your like interest was on the online course side of things too, which I think is just really interesting.
My hope is to kind of be like you, Marie. It's to have a lot of courses.
Sweet,
And to sort of my dream is to co-create courses with other passionate
That's awesome. Yeah.
creatives who want to share that with the Super Creative brand. And I hope to create 2, 3 other courses like the Webflow one in the next year. And I hope to have this sort of unique learning experience where people just don't come and learn something, but they make awesome connections. They form relationships. They open themselves to a new worlds, right?
Yeah.
And to attract these people, I will write a lot of blog posts, share a lot of free resources, and hopefully even write a book or something.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
I love that.
And I learn a lot from people like you who share their experience. And there's so many people out like online who are willing to just explain everything that they did to reach to a certain point. And I don't think that was possible just a few years ago.
It's a different vibe. Like people used to have the secret sauce and they would never share it, right? It was like, don't tell people how you do your thing. But now it's like you have to tell people it's a whole different outlook on it now.
And it's sort of, it's like meta marketing.
Yeah.
It's like you show how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
You show the process, and that brings even more people, right? It's sort of insane, but some people are more interested in the process than the outcome. And by being open and by building publicly,
yes,
you can create even more interest with not that much more effort.
Because I think there's power in sharing how you're thinking, right? I think that also positions you as an expert, because I think experts are willing to admit what they don't know, and they're willing to admit where there's room to learn. It can often be folks that aren't that experienced that are unwilling to, I think, admit where they fall short. And so there's something about an expert being willing to talk about what they're doing, but also say like, here's what didn't work, or here's, I wasn't super happy with this part, but I really like this. And that transparency, I think, can build a lot of trust and just showcase your thinking, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, this was super fun. I mean, I'm able to stay a little bit if you want to keep chatting, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we could talk a lot.
Okay, one thing I would love to run by you, because I know as you're thinking about retention and people not completing courses, I have maybe a devil's advocate take on this, and that is that. There's lots of courses that I take where sometimes the nugget that I take away is like, yes, I got what I needed, I'm good. Maybe I don't need to finish that course. I got the piece that I needed to move myself forward, and that maybe course completion rates is not necessarily the best measure of did someone learn what they came here to learn. Because I imagine there's different motivations when people are signing up for a course, right? And so sometimes there's an element of just enough, like I got the value of the course that I was looking for, even without completing it. And similar to books, right? Like I have usually a dozen books on the go and I'll take it chapter by chapter, but sometimes something gets moved to the back burner because this week it's actually not as relevant or important. I'm not just going to push through to finish it. Now I'm working on my funnels and this other marketing book is more important right now. So it's almost like these little chess pieces that I'm sort of like moving at different points. So I realize this is like a very long-winded question, but I'm curious if you have thoughts on.
It's so cool. No, it's so good. I agree. Like one of the things that I love to do is not finish the books that I start. Right? Just learn what I can from a book and then move on. But on the other side, I say something different with courses. And you're right. They there's something very similar because you learn things from them. I think it's a measure we make by default, and because we don't have a lot of better.
Like how do we measure the learning?
How do we measure? How do we measure? It's hard. Well, we measure how schools measure is with tests if we actually learn something.
And that's interesting too,
I
right?
think
Because
the
yeah.
yeah.
No, there's like so much. There's like so much with online courses that
Yeah,
we could.
to
Yeah.
do you do tests with Notion Mastery? Do you test people on if they'll learn something?
No, so I had someone approach me about that, and they were like, "Oh, like you should have this testing or this or that." But I'm like, how many people that are learning Notion are learning it because they want to be tested on their Notion knowledge?
Mm.
So it's sort of like, what is the intention of the student here? They're wanting to build an effective workspace. So really, the feedback helps me see. There's like a pretty in-depth intake form when they start the course, and they sort of self-assess. And I say, what would success look like for you? Finishing this course, like what would an outcome, a successful outcome look like? So the student themselves is predefining that outcome. And then in the feedback form, the idea is like, did the student get or do what they said they wanted to do, right? So I'm not going to test them on that. I think that would Notion's fun and creative, and people are using it as this tool for creativity. So is having a test the best way to measure in this particular case? I don't think so. I think a better measure is, have you, like, how effective do you feel now in your day-to-day, in your
Okay.
workflow? And in many cases, many people have now monetized their own systems, right? Because I encourage people, as you're working through your workspace and you find a way to make Notion work for real estate agents or for lawyers, like you yourself might stumble upon a new monetization stream, right? And I'm willing to always share my students' work, like, oh, that is an amazing, I love the way that you did that. We should put that up on Gumroad. Let's bring you up on office hours. Like, how can we help you share your methods with other people? So I think there's something interesting there of, have you created something that didn't exist before that maybe even leads to a new revenue stream? Do you feel confident and successful in your own workflow? Have you worked out the friction and the kinks? So in my particular case, I don't think a test makes sense. In a lot of online courses, I think testing doesn't make sense, but it's so contextual. I think it depends on the topic that you're teaching and what the student's intention was in the first place of taking the course.
I really like your answer. I think it's a very good one. The way I do it is I sort of try to do outcome-based courses where
Yes,
people start with a website idea and finish with a website. And so if they haven't made, if they don't have their website, then they probably haven't really finished the course, or maybe aren't. That's how I measure whether I was successful
I like that.
in
It's like a
doing what I wanted
project.
to do.
Did they finish the project?
A
Right?
project,
Yeah.
exactly. Did I actually do the project? I think that's a good practical, like a tangible way to measure
I like that too.
if I was successful or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read this article by Rohal, I think, the founder of the app, the mail app called
Superhuman?
who made, yes, the email app. And he wrote this now famous article among startup folks about how to measure whether you're on your path to being a very successful startup. So if you have a product market fit, that's the term they employ. If you're on the path to that huge growth, exponential growth that every startup dreams of, then what they do is they ask their existing customers this question is, how would you feel if Superhuman, our product, wouldn't exist? Would you be very disappointed, a bit disappointed? I don't care. No, I'd be
It'd be fine.
more happy.
Yeah.
And I don't know how really they arrived to that number, but they said, well, you can't arrive to that huge exponential number if less than 40% of your customers answer, I would be very disappointed.
Wow.
And so they sort of have this formula, right? This one thing to track.
That's the metric to track. Yeah.
That's the metric to track. That's the one thing. And so I would be very curious about that one question for online courses.
Yeah.
What would be the one metric to track? Maybe it's being very disappointed that they can't take the course anymore. But there's something
That's an
to investigate
interesting.
here.
Yeah, I like that. And I was familiar with that question too. I didn't realize there was like a specific number, but I think that's really cool to think about. And it can that answer be the same for all online courses, or is it different because there's so many different types of online courses and even like different levels of instructor engagement or again, like my husband's a firefighter, so the training he looks at is like we're talking about credentials. So there is a level of, oh, you have to be able to recite certain things or whatever. So it's interesting to think about online learning from like very there are credentials versus with online courses you have any creator is creating a course. There's no barrier to entry in a way. So there's also an element of people having to do their due diligence and make sure that they trust that this instructor does know what they're talking about and that sort of thing. So there's just so many different types of online courses and formats. It's like, how do you standardize, I guess?
Right. I agree.
And can you? Yeah,
yeah.
It's fun to think about.
If anyone has an answer, you can add it
let
to
us
the
know.
comments.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Nadine was asking, what was that book recommended again? What was I forget
Pricing
now.
Design by Denmal.
Was it Pricing Design? I mean, heck, we could also talk about some of our book recommendations too, because I'm sure there's been, or even just like
do it.
Influencers or people that, you said Nathan Barry. I remember watching one of Nathan Barry's talks at MicroConf years ago, and he was sharing the story of ConvertKit, because I remember Nathan Barry before he launched ConvertKit. Like I was following his design. I'd bought some of his design products and that sort of thing. And he shared this incredible chart, right, with like ConvertKit over time. Just like, I think it was like $2,500 a month was like the most that they had made. And he talked to one of the guys, I think it was Heaton Shaw from Startups from the Rest of Us, who said, Nathan, what are you doing wasting your time? You either need to like go all in on it or stop and just quit. And so it was kind of like a smack. He's like, why are you, messing around here? Like, forget this other stuff with your design products. And I think at the time, his design products were making like $350,000 a year. So he was making a really great living off of his info products, right? But he wanted to go the software route, and to see the hockey stick moment where he's like, and this is where we double down on ConvertKit. So I still remember a lot of the wisdom from Nathan Barry's talk, and it's been really cool to kind of watch his trajectory from, doing design and teaching about design to suddenly moving into software and just having a whole different trajectory. So I'd love to hear some of your other like influencers and
a lot of people that really influence me are on Twitter, and I use Twitter to sort of curate the inputs because like we're conditioned to if we are creators, the inputs that we decide to receive, to ingest, or to the content that we ingest has a huge influence on our output. So I take a lot of time trying to create who I follow, what I will learn from them, and the influence that it's going to have on my work. And so I guess the best way to know then who has the most influence on me is just to look at who I follow on Twitter. Notable names would be SHL, so Sahil, founder of Gumroad. I love reading Andrew Wilkinson, founder of Meta Lab. I love
fellow Canadian.
Yes, fellow Canadian. Well, yeah. I can't, but a lot of people, interesting people on Twitter influence me.
Before the pandemic, were there conferences or events that you used to go to that maybe influenced?
No, I mean, I've literally just started taking this journey of being a creator and putting, I started, 3 months ago. So not really before. And the pandemic was actually, that was a good motive for me to do this and to explore this.
Were you working full time somewhere before you?
I was so Super Creative, what I'm managing now. I was trying to match great designers with clients. and so sort of like a startup, and it was hard, and I didn't feel like this was very aligned with my values. And during the huge lockdown, sort of tried to understand what really motivated me, and I got back to education and the fact that it was very fulfilling. Um,
What are some of the online
so
courses you've taken that were like that you've really loved?
ah, hmm, I well, actually, I spent a lot of time on Khan Academy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, um, I really like Mackenzie Child, who made a lot of great courses about Ruby on Rails, and who's now teaching Webflow.
Cool.
Um, yeah. What about you? What are the really great courses you've
Oh man.
taken online?
Oh,
I'm curious.
I take so many courses. I can't help myself. Like right now, I'm taking a conversion copywriting course with Leanna Patch,
Okay.
as
Oh yeah.
or conversion comedy, which is pretty
Okay.
funny. So just starting that one. Mariah Cause's Accelerator was incredible. It's a big investment, but it has definitely paid itself off in terms of more being more aware of the marketing pieces around launching as well. Masterclass.com, I have a membership to that, so I'm always
Ah.
kind of taking,
Okay.
intro to economics and like cooking classes and you name it. Like there's just such a range on there that I really love. Building a Second Brain was a great one with Tiago Forte. I
Ah.
took that one. I feel like I'd been using Notion for like 8 months and then took Building a Second Brain and then was able to totally supercharge the way I was using my setup. So it definitely influenced me there. I think that's one that I didn't even finish, but again, I got what I needed and it really kind of influenced what I wanted to get out of the course. And so now I think you have lifetime access. So every now and then I go back in there and like, check out the content again.
But see, you can set at least 5 different courses you've taken, and I think like as I'm starting to create my own courses now, whenever I see a course, I buy it. Like I feel so much more happy to buy a course and so
Yeah.
much more interested. It's like a good yeah, a good
Like paying it forward, right? You're like, oh, I'd love to support you in the course that you're
yeah,
creating. And yeah,
as well.
yeah, definitely. Let's
Yeah.
see,
Um,
computer science. Hoping to create a piece of software as amazing as Notion. Hashtag goals. Yeah, wouldn't that be? I mean, I don't know if most people don't even know this, but like my husband and I run an online course platform. So we have a platform called Doki.io, but my course is still is still on Notion because again, it's a course on Notion, so it's very meta in that way. And so I'm very familiar with course platforms and kind of what's possible, but yeah, I still love delivering courses right within Notion, even though it like goes to get like, you know,
I'll check it out. Doki.io.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, my husband he got headhunted and started working full time last August, so it kind of became less and less of our focus in the last year. But it still kind of hums along and behind the
Okay.
scenes. So again, it's more diversified, like software, client services, courses, products. Yeah,
Were you thinking about Nathan Barry as you built Doki.io as
yeah.
your own sort of bird kit?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we went to MicroConf, right? It's a conference for self-funded, startup SaaS folks, people who are in software as a service. So I went to MicroConf, I think 4 years in a row, and that's where I saw Nathan do a guest talk. So going into software opened up so many other doors too, in just in terms of product design, doing demos, onboarding, like you name. There's so many pieces to software that we didn't like. We had no idea what we were getting into because we were both web designers. Husband's a programmer, so we were used to client services. Moving into software was like, what on earth? There's just so much we didn't know, and then GDPR compliance when Stripe changes their
Mm,
checkout. Like there's always more to be working on and more to be aware of. And there's
right.
just so much nuance, but it really kind of influenced, again, just being aware of different models, different business models. gave me so much more awareness and wisdom to be able to improve my consulting with other people too, to show people what was possible. So really cool journey, but we also realized neither of us was that excited to go all in on software. Like the price point for how much effort was so high. Like the amount of time that you put into for a $29 a month, it was like, it's sometimes quite unbelievable. And then you'll get people who are so rude because they forgot their password and they're like, this system is broken, and they're kind of yelling at you. And I was like, I don't know that you're paying me enough to like really get excited about this. So neither of us was so excited that we were willing to go all in and do all of our content marketing around that. So I found myself, and this is again a bit of a tangent, but when we're talking about online courses, people would sign up for the platform and then they'd be like, oh, can I push my membership, right? Because we were giving a 30-day trial. Like, oh, I'm not ready to ship yet. Can I have another 30 days? Can I have another? And people would take 6 months or a year and continue to keep asking to push off paying for the platform because they couldn't ship. And we found that was very common. People were signing up for the technology way before they were ready to actually ship their course. And that's why I ended up creating a course that was like, run your learning launch. Get your course shipped ASAP. Stop overthinking it. Stop delaying it, right? Let's get you an MVP course out the door. So in some ways, the software ended up influencing, because I was noticing this trend of people were like scared to ship. They were overthinking it. They were going too deep on the technical pieces and overthinking it, but that was an excuse for them not to ship because they were scared. So I was learning more about the mindset around launching and how do you motivate people to get their work out there sooner. So again, while the software wasn't the sort of be all end all, like taking the hockey stick ConvertKit, journey, it really, really influenced the way that we consult with folks and learning more about launching and getting people shipped. How do you motivate people to complete their courses?
I emphasize so much with you because I felt the same way as I tried to build software before.
It's
versus
hard.
now,
It's so
of course,
hard.
it's so hard, and you are in a way disconnected with your customers because you have your software and then your client or your user, and they interact only with with your software.
Yeah.
But with a course, for instance, you talk to your job is actually to talk to your customers, to your students, and that feels, to me at least, so much more rewarding. Because I know what's right, what's wrong. They can just tell me. The feedback is instant.
Yes, that's a good point.
So that I'm like many people, I fantasized about software and its huge potential returns, or it's
make money in your sleep, like
and it I think courses or just teaching is actually more in line with my values.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, more rewarding. You get a better sense of how people are actually experiencing your work and your content. It's a very different model. And I'm way more excited about the teaching and products than SaaS. Yeah.
Someone mentioned before if there was a discount code for the Notion.
Oh yeah.
And I think
did you give me one?
Didn't we have something for your newsletter? You had an affiliate link.
I had an affiliate link, yeah.
But I'll share one now in the chat for sure, and I'll limit to the amount of people who are live,
what code should people use?
This was really awesome.
It was really fun. Yeah, I didn't know how much we had in common too, of like the courses stuff, and there's lots we could talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah. Thanks for being the first Monetizing Notion guest.
I thank you for people who watched.
Yeah. Thanks everyone who joined and stayed late, and are still here. I hope it was interesting, inspiring, encouraging. I just love people creating their own wealth and really like using their creativity to find interesting ways to bring in a little bit more revenue. So thank you for being so transparent about your journey too, and just kind of all the numbers and what it took to get there and all of it. So yeah. So
Thank you.
maybe let us know, like, best way for people to find you is, I know, supercreative.com.
Sure.
Is that right? Or you can put it in the chat.
Supercreative.design.
Oh, .design.
.design, actually. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm. I publish stuff for freelancers to be more productive and creative at the same time, or I try to do what's good at the intersection of these two areas. And yeah, I'll share now a small coupon code
Awesome.
for you amazing Marie Poulain lovers.
Awesome. Yeah, I know Geraldo there is asking, where's the code? So will you put that in the chat window, or I can also add that to the event description as well? So whatever is easiest for you.
Both, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for coming. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Ben.